Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article says Tote Yas and planning for the next. The article here is speaking about the disastrous consequences of the cyclones. Let us try and understand what is the author trying to convey. We have number of cyclones that hit the eastern as well as the western coast. Some of the prominent cyclones that we have witnessed in the near past is Tote as well as Yes. What happens? We have the western coast, we also have the eastern coast as well. Whenever there is a cyclone that makes a landfall in any of the coastal areas, what would happen? There will be detrimental consequences that we may have to face. The consequences include one, loss of lives. The other is the economic causes. When we look into the loss of lives, number of people will lose their near and dear ones, and at the same time, what we also witness is the economic losses. The economic losses causes damage to the infrastructure. The agricultural sector will be hard hit because of the excessive rainfall, and at the same time the houses of the people will also be destroyed during these cyclones. This is where we have to understand some of the statistics given under this article. The article goes on to say that when you look into these two cyclones that happened in India, about 199 people were killed, 37 million people were affected, and economic losses stood at 320 billion. When we look into the damage it is caused on the agriculture, the crop area of about 0.24 million hectares was affected, and around million houses were damaged as well. So when such things happen on the western as well as the eastern coast, this will have detrimental consequences to the people living in this area. Whenever we have such disastrous things happening because of the cyclones, people will have to be evacuated from this region. They have to be taken to the cyclone shelters, and ultimately they have to be kept in the relief camps as well. This is what happens in the rural level. At the urban level, there is another consequence as well. What happens? Because in the urban areas, what we give importance is to the urbanization. So we have more concrete jungles that are built as well. During this process, we also have trees that are present. But what happens during the cyclone? These trees, which are able to minimize the impact of pollution, those are also depleted, which means there is depleting green cover that also happens in the urban areas. Therefore, because of all these cyclone impact, the government will be the major sufferer. Apart from the people suffering, the government will also suffer as well. Why? Because the government will have to bear the financial responsibility, and the hard hit are the state governments. Why are they the hard hit? That is because when it comes to the disaster management, they have to take care, and health also falls under the state list as well. So people will have to be taken care. Apart from the central government giving some grants, it is the state governments which may have to bear the responsibility, the financial cost. So it is the state government which will face the heat of a disaster, says this article. Now, when we look into the statistics as given under this article, it says that the World Bank and the United Nations report in 2010 estimate that around 200 million city residents would be exposed to storms and earthquakes by 2050 in India. The Asian Development Bank's report in 2014 estimated that India would suffer a loss of about 1.8% of the GDP annually by 2015 from climate related events. During 1999 and 2020, 12,388 people were killed, and the damage was estimated to be $32,615 million. These cyclones are the third most lethal disaster in India after earthquakes and floods as well. These clearly point out the bleak picture where the government is going to face the heat because of all these disasters. Now, the question is, why are these disasters, especially the cyclones, increased over a last number of years? That is because if you look into this year, probably last year as well, and in the near future as well, we will see the impact of cyclones increasing. We will also see more number of cyclones as well. Why are these cyclones increasing? That is because of the increase in the sea surface temperature. The ideal temperature that is required for the formation of cyclones is about 27 degree to 28 degrees. But because of the anthropogenic induced climate changes that we have infused, what we currently have in Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea is a constant temperature of about 31 to 32 degrees centigrade. Because of this warmth that we see in the Bay of Bengal region as well as in the Arabian Sea, what we have is the disastrous consequences that we have to face in the form of cyclones. So basically, one of the ideal key character for the formation of cyclone happens to be the temperature, since because of the climate change induced factors that we have induced, the humans have induced, what we have is a constant temperature in Bay of Bengal as well as in the Arabian Sea. That happens to be the major problem as to why there has been an increase when it comes to the cyclones. Because of all these anthropogenic induced factors, the article goes on to say that India lost around 2% of the GDP and 15% of the total revenue over 1999 to 2020. According to Global Climate Risk Index report 2021, India ranks 7th worst hit country globally in 2019. As part of assignment, you have to put on the comment section which authority, which organization or a body releases this Global Climate Risk Index report. So basically, this can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. So the article goes on to say that as much as 2% of the GDP is being spent by the government for the disasters relief. So what happens? We know for the fact that one of the major coastal cities that is always hard hit is Odisha. In spite of it, it stands against these natural calamities and has set as an example. So one of the states that India can take as an adaptive example happens to be Odisha. Hats off to the Odisha government that they have done an exclusive job in the past where they have been able to support their people and they have been able to withstand the pressure of all these natural cyclones. But in spite of the efforts taken by the Odisha government, it is still not enough, says this article. Why? That is because when you look into the past, you have the Odisha government which has improvised on the disaster warning system. They have been able to ensure that awareness is given to the people. They have been able to evacuate the people because of this advanced warning system, and construction of the evacuation centers have also been taken by the Odisha government as well. They have done an exceptional job in the past. They have also come up with Odisha State Disaster Management Authority. They have also constructed and built the Odisha Disaster Rapid Action Force as well, so that they can expedite the evacuation process. But in spite of these efforts taken by the state government of Odisha, which is one of the prime examples that we have as to how we would be able to withstand the pressure of cyclone, these measures are not enough. More will have to be taken up by the central government. What we require is coordination between the center and the states, says this article. So what is that we have to do? What are the measures that we may have to take? Some of the essential measures that we may have to take is improvise on the cyclone warning system. As of now, we do have the advanced system and technology, but in spite of this prevalent in the administrative system, we require an advancement. More evolved technology will have to come up. What we require is an R&D. We have to make sure that the research and developmental teams in all the prime colleges like the IIT will have to taken up into picture. So the supporting of the innovation programs and technology will have to be taken a boost according to the cyclone warning system, says this article. What we also have to make sure is create the shelter belt plantations. What are these shelter belt plantations? As you can see, these are the seas. So you have the green cover in and around the seas as well. So when you have such shelter belt plantations or the green cover around the seas where we are creating an artificial one, in such a case, this would also prevent the impact of the cyclones as well. Why? Because these plantations can act as a natural barrier and this will reduce the impact, says the author. Apart from this, we may also have to regenerate the mangroves in the coastal regions. When it comes to the mangroves, of late, they are facing a lot of threats in the coastal community. Why? That is because of the logging, that is because of the agricultural activities, that is because of the aquacultural activities, and pollution is further exacerbating this issue when it comes to the coastal areas. So all of this will have to be taken into picture. The excessive urbanization that is taking place in the coastal areas will have to be relooked, and what we require is to make sure that the natural guardians in the form of mangroves are safeguarded. So what we have to do is improvise on the technology parameters, invest more when it comes to the innovation on the technology, and at the same time the shelter plantations and the mangroves will have to be respected. And whenever there is a cyclone, the third major casualty to this happens to be the power infrastructure in the coastal districts. So what we have to do is to ensure that the power infrastructure is intact, and at the same time concrete houses will have to be provided to the poor as well as the vulnerable sections. And finally, more needs to be done in terms of the center state relation for the mitigation of the disaster impact, says this article. As of now, yes, coordination is happening, but at the same time more will have to be established. So there has to be an existing institutional mechanism, says the author. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says finding a healthy way to cook. The article here is speaking about the issues and concerns faced by the women where they have to fetch the firewood or the dung cakes for the cooking. So the article here introspects about the health consequences for the women. When it comes to the rural sector, in fact even in the urban areas as well, who are the people who into cooking, especially in the houses? It is the women. So what do, especially in the rural and in the remote areas? They have to get the firewood, they have to get these dung cakes for the sake of cooking. They have limited access to the LPGs. In fact, even if the government is providing the LPGs, so on and so forth, they are still engaging in cooking by making use of the firewood as well as the dung cakes. When women are engaged in such an activity where they use these firewoods for cooking, this will have consequences for the women. What are these? One, as they inhale the polluted air, their health will be impacted. So the first major concern is that this is equivalent to smoking of cigarettes. Why? Because they are using the firewood. This will also cause indoor pollution as well. Their family members will also be impacted as well, and at the same time, because of the release of carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, the environment will also face the heat of pollution. So because of the burning of firewood and dung cakes, these many issues of negative impacts have been happening because of this. So what should the government do? The government should ideally work, introduce multiple schemes and programs, ensure that such impact are not felt by the women, which is why the government back in the 1980s came up with a program called as the National Program on Improved Chula. So basically the government understood that women are going through these issues, the family might also suffer as well, this could have detrimental consequences to the environment. So it realizes that we have to come up with a policy initiative. So what does the government do? It introduces National Program on Improved Chilla. Yes, this was also successful initially as well, but with time what does the government do? The government starts withdrawing the subsidy. Every scheme for that matter is basically has a backbone of subsidy, but the government, after this initiative became successful, over a period of time it started withdrawing the subsidy, and as a result people who were actively engaged in this particular program were also inactive over a period of time. Initially they were active because the government was providing subsidy, but later, as and when the subsidies were withdrawn, government also lost interest, people also would not be able to use it because the subsidies were not given by the government over a period of time. Then in the year 2013, Pahal scheme was also introduced, one, to make sure that LPG connections were given to the people, and at the same time in the year 2016 the government of India introduced Pradhana Mantri Ujjwala Yojana as well. So what is this Ujjwala Yojana? Basically all those rural households who do not have the LPG connections where clean cooking fuel is given to the women, they would be provided free connections, and at the same time they would also be provided initially cylinders free of cost as well. With time, when the government felt that there was initial success, according to the government introduces Ujjwala 2. What is this Ujjwala 2? According to Ujjwala 2, let's say there is a migrant who is working in a different state. Such a person requiring LPG need not submit the ration card or any type of address proof. So what would happen? They would be provided LPG connections, and at the same time they would also be provided the initial subsidy as well. But what the government has forgotten is, according to the author, that over a period of time this will not sustain, says the author. Why? That is because according to the author, 48% of the rural households used LPG in 2018, but only partially. How? Let's say, for example, the government is providing initially the LPG connections. Over a period of time, it has also provided subsidy as well. But when the subsidy is withdrawn or the government is not giving these subsidies, they are not encouraged to use the LPG. Why? One is because of the cost. How does the cost act on the economics of the poor? When it comes to the poor sections in the society, they earn on a daily basis. They get their bread and butter because they work on a daily basis. They are daily wage workers. But if they have to refill the cylinder, this is a costly affair, expensive affair, and as a result, even if they're using it only for the partially, where they'll be using it for preparing of tea or coffee, but not for the preparing of food. As a result, men would not give money to the women, where it is the men who work outside, it is the women who work inside, and unfortunately, because the men do not provide the money for the refilling of the cylinders, it is the health of the women which is impacted. So the author here goes on to say that apart from the LPG schemes and programs the government has initiated, what we require is an alternative strategy, tools and policies that the government has to rework. As of now, we have had in the past Pahel scheme, we also have the Ujjwala Yojana as well, we've also had Ujjwala 2 as well, but in spite of these schemes and programs, it may not work successfully because ideally refilling the cylinder happens to be the most important aspect, which according to the poor is costly and expensive. So the government in this particular case will have to come up with alternative sources where the poor would be able to choose, and at the same time we would be able to take care of the women and their health, and also the environmental aspect of pollution is also looked into, says the author. So the government will have to come up with alternative sources, says the author. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says the Indian economy is struggling to recover. We have the International Monetary Fund. It releases one of the reports called as the World Economic Outlook Report. According to it, it has categorized two types of economy. One is the advanced countries, the other is the emerging economies. According to the World Economic Outlook Report, it says that the advanced countries will have a boost when it comes to the economic activities, but it is the emerging economies which is bound to suffer. Their GDP may drop and they may also see contraction in the economy. Why? That is because the author goes on to give two important reasons. What are these two reasons? One, when it comes to the advanced countries, they were able to provide the COVID-19 vaccines as soon as possible. Let's take the example of United States of America, or let's take the example of United Kingdom, or let's take any of the advanced countries. What is the first thing that they did? Apart from the lockdowns, what they did was they were able to fetch all these vaccines. They entered into agreement with multinational companies and they were able to vaccinate the people. In fact, when Trump was asked questions about COVID-19, he initially dismissed it. He also called it a Chinese controversy as well. In fact, when he had to take an option of vaccine, he did take it up, and United States of America went about vaccinating many people. This also happened in UK as well. It also happened in many European countries as well. So one thing that they were able to do is to vaccinate large number of people. If we have to take the example or the comparison, about 40% of the people in the advanced countries are currently vaccinated, but it is only 11% in the emerging economy who are vaccinated. That is the bleak comparison that we have. When you juxtapose both together, you see that the advanced countries have vaccinated more, and as a result, they may have all their economic activities restarted, but the emerging economies are still fighting the menace of COVID-19. They might have imposed regional lockdowns as well. they might have not been able to work full-fledged as well. Why? Because people are not fully vaccinated, which is why the World Economic Outlook, which is the International Monetary Fund, goes on to say the advanced countries have an edge right now, says this article. Apart from this, the advanced economies have also given stimulation packages. Yes, the emerging economies have also done as well, but because their foundations are really good, because they have given huge impetus to the economy, the stimulation packages that the advanced economies have given is far in excess compared to the emerging economies. Yes, when you compare the advanced economies with the emerging economies, it is in the advantage of the advanced economies and not to the emerging economies, says the author. When you look into India, which happens to be one of the emerging economy, the author goes on to say that India had a contraction by over 7% during the 2020 and 21. India happened to be one of the worst economies during the COVID-19 period as well. Initially, people also assumed that we would be able to come back. Initially, they also assumed that India would be able to take off as well, but then we did not anticipate the second wave. Because we were not able to anticipate the second wave, India was hit, and as a result, we are still struggling, not able to come and meet in terms of the increased economic activity, says the author. Added to this, because of the first wave, because of the second wave, we are also facing the heat of inflation. So the RBI, that is the Reserve Bank of India, is also in dilemma. What is the dilemma? Should we give importance to the growth, which is the importance right now, or should we be able to control the prices? So they are in dilemma as well. So if they control the prices, growth factor will be hit. If they give impetus to the growth, then inflation may also be boosted as well, and as a result, it is the poor sections in the society who will be hard hit. And as a result, this article goes on to say there is a dilemma that is existing even for the Reserve Bank of India. Followed by this, the author speaks in reference to the government spending as well. When there are countries in the advanced economies who have been able to give stimulation package, India did also give the stimulation package as well. But because we had the constraints when it comes to the revenue of the government, the GST did not meet the initial expectation. Of late, the GST tax collections are extremely good, but in the initial phase, the central government was not able to transfer the GST to the state governments, so the spending of the state governments and the government as a whole has also gone wrong, says the author. India, which is also called as the vaccine capital, has not been able to provide vaccines to most of its citizens, and as a result, what we will have is a delay when it comes to the economic activities. Apart from this, in spite of we giving the vaccines as well, there are some variants that are created, and these variants are not neutralized by the vaccine effect, and as a result, what we will have is the immunization process is not working effective, says the author. In fact, in United States of America, we have one of the drug manufacturer, Pfizer, which has said that what we require right now is the booster shot. Similarly, we have Israel as well, which has executed a successful program when it comes to the vaccine campaign. But in spite of its success, because of the variants, Israel itself is gone on to say that we require booster shots. So what we have to make sure is that as many people are vaccinated, and finally, when the economy will recover is a question mark, says the author. So we have to wait and watch. When all people are vaccinated, the government provides more stimulus to the economy, and only when these things settle, we will have a robust, sustainable growth, says the author. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says no extension for evacuations, warn Taliban. In what could be a warning from Taliban to the Western powers, they've gone ahead and said that in case United States of America and its powers are not able to withdraw by August 31st, which happens to be the deadline set by United States of America, in such a situation, United States of America, its people and the Western powers may have to face the consequences, says the Taliban. August 31st is is the deadline for all the troops of United States of America to withdraw from Afghanistan. But when you ask questions to UK, when you ask questions to other European countries as well, they say that they would not be able to lift their people from Afghanistan within this given deadline. As a result, United States of America may have to speak to Taliban, they may have to extend the deadline, and in such a case, no such deadlines can be extended, says the Taliban. So what would happen after 31st August is what needs to be waited and watched, because as of now, what we are witnessing in this picture are people who are helpless in this situation. They are not able to do anything, they are not able to safeguard their families because of the activities of Taliban. So only after 31st, what would happen, what will be the projects and projections of the United States of America, we have to wait and watch, says this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says protest cannot hinder traffic, says the Supreme Court of India. This article here is speaking about protest. Protest happens to be one of the fundamental rights as enshrined under Article 19. So all of us, if we have the grievance, we would be able to come on a public platform, we would be able to showcase our grievances as well, so that the government is aware what the citizens are wanting for. Because do remember, the simplest definitions of democracy is government of the people, by the people and for the people. So when people face some of the consequences which can be detrimental to them, they have to voice out their grievances. In the present situation, we have the farmers who are agitating against the farm bills. Yes, that is their legitimate right. They have the right to protest as well. They have the right to say what is wrong according to them to the government as well. They can discuss and deliberate with the government bodies as well, but they also have the right to respect others' right as well. Others' right is to travel from one place to another, but if the farmers are blocking the road, they are hindering the traffic and the public movement, which is not right, says the Supreme Court of India. So we have recorded this right to protest in a detailed lecture in one of our CNA videos. The link will be given in the description box, so you can look into it and understand what is this right to protest all about and what has the Supreme Court said in the past about it. So this is what we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. With a rise in the frequency of devastating cyclones, India needs to look at long-term mitigation measures. Discuss. Next question. Explain why the usage of LPG cylinders remains low despite many flagship schemes and programs. So please write all your answers on the comment section. Please have a peer review as well. Do give positive feedback to your friends' answers. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.